Just a few things quickly to run through. As you know, 21 gold medal events today in 28 sports. President's going to judo and fencing. I think that's all the small announcements from me, and then I will now very quickly, before I introduce our two guests and tell you what we're going to start the press conference at least about, let me hand over to Masa, who wants to give you the latest figures on testing and also a weather update. Masa, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today, as always. I actually went to Odaiba venue earlier this morning, and it was a fantastic venue. The sports competition went very well. The venue has been hosting the national championships for more than 20 times for all the triathlon community in Japan. Today was one of those the days that we are proud of this achievement. There will be other sporting events that we want to watch today, so we are expecting to see some of the Japanese hopeful athletes are competing today, so hopefully we should be able to see more excitement during the day. Also, before going into the COVID and Typhoon update, wanted to touch on the TV audience rate. Today, we saw the report that the opening ceremony recorded 56.4% TV audience rate on average, which is one of those remarkable figures. So we are very pleased to see such the big attention we were able to catch. So on COVID update, I believe you have the updated table. As of 24th July, starting from the beginning of this month, 36,470 tests were conducted at the airport. The positive case was 28, which means the positivity rate is 0.08%. And in the meantime, the number of screening tests is now 200,000. More than 200,000 tests were conducted till 24th, and 42 cases were found to be positive, which means the positivity rate is 0.02%, still remaining very, very low. Quickly wanted to touch on the Typhoon update, and actually we have actually learned from my weather report team that we do not consider, in the US scale, this size of the typhoon is not considered as a typhoon. It is called a tropical storm. In the US scale, it is a 3 grade out of 5, so you shouldn't be too much worried about that. But of course, it is still typhoon in Japan in our interpretation. So still have to maintain your precautions. But what I can tell you today is that we have a written statement. I'd like to quickly read through. The Tokyo 2020 Organizing Committee is reviewing with the IOC, International Sports Federations, and other relevant organizations the measures we should take to protect against typhoon, which based on the latest weather forecast is likely to make landfall somewhere in the Kanto and or Tohoku regions of eastern Japan on Tuesday 27th, tomorrow. In line with the current weather forecast, the schedule for the rowing and archery events due to take place on that day has been already changed. But at this time, there are no plans to change the schedule for any of the other events due to be held on Tuesday, 27th of July. We will continue to monitor the latest weather information to ensure the safety of all those involved in the games. We will advise you of any changes to the competition schedule as quickly as possible. In particular, we will make every effort to inform you promptly of any changes to events due to be held with spectators. So that's pretty much it at this very beginning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Masa. Okay, let's get down to business. As I say, as ever, we will discuss all sorts of other questions which you wish to later. But we're going to talk about an important issue for us, and I'm sure for you too, which is gender representation. Yesterday, we heard from Sports Director Kit McConnell how we've been changing the schedule to give a much more balanced schedule. So, for example, I think you heard that in London there were 8 mixed events. Here there are 18. Also giving more prominence to women's sports. And I think that's important, and we'll come on to that, because actually the Olympic Games is one of the few events, sporting events in the world that does give really equal prominence, or tries to give equal prominence to men's and women's sports. So, as I say, yesterday we talked about schedule and other things we're doing, and of course we should remember that these are the first games which are gender equal. But today we're going to look at a little bit about representation, gender representation of men and women in your and our games coverage. So I'm very pleased to be joined by Emoto Naoko, who is an Olympian and is part of Tokyo 2020 Gender Equality and Inclusion team. Thank you for joining us. And of course, those of you who've been to Olympic Games will know Yannis Exarchos, who's the CEO of OBS, Olympic Broadcasting Services. And he can tell you a little bit about what OBS is doing and how we've worked to make our coverage more balanced. So, Naoko, if you want to start and give a few kind of details, and then we'll come on to Yannis. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Naoko. I'm Olympian from '96 Atlanta in swimming. I've been an advisor for the Gender Equality Promotion team at the Tokyo 2020 organizing committee. So, and also I was the one who received the flame in Athens in March 2020. I wanted to, I hope you got a chance to look at the Portrayal Guidelines published by IOC. This was an updated edition this year, prior to the Games. And we actually translated this into Japanese. And so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today. I'm really happy that this issue is given attention finally in these Games, because I've been working abroad and looking at Japanese media when it comes to sports. It's really biased when it comes to gender. There's lots of, I wouldn't say discrimination, but it's, when it comes to female athletes, it's totally biased. Many of the channels look at female athletes as female or girls or wives or mothers, and not really as pure athletes. It is both in terms of quantity and quality. When it comes to quantity, it's apart from the Olympics, there isn't a lot of broadcasting or news talking about female athletes, apart from the Olympics. And when it comes to the quality of it, you know, we talk about how they are in their private lives, or how they are as mothers. Most of it also really gives attention to the looks, saying in Japanese "utsukushi sugiru," or you know, they're beautiful or sexy, or we talk about beast, or athletes eating food in the court, or it's just that it's not pure sport. And so this has been noticed, and then there's lots of data, so this is a fact, but we never actually talked about it. So I'm happy as an advisor to the gender team that we were able to translate, and then it's been distributed, and I really hope that this is part of the movement. And after this event, after the Games, I hope we're going to have time to talk to the Japanese Olympic Committee or the different sports organizations to talk about the standards of portrayal, and talk about really how we're going to promote the sport with media, to say that, you know, we have to break the stereotypes, and sports is one of the main things that we can actually do this, because female athletes are as they are, and then they're powerful, and they're also beautiful, but they're not just women, they're athletes, and we want to. I think this is a great opportunity to really have break the stereotypes through sports, and then bring it to another level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Naoko. So let's go now to Yanis. Yanis, I know OBS have been doing a lot to try and improve the balance of coverage. So,
thank you very much, Mark. Thank you, Naoko-san. And allow me to say that I'm particularly happy to be here among you today, and very happy that as of the first days, one of the issues that we address is actually that of gender equality, which is very, very close to my heart and to the heart of all the team of OBS. Why? First of all, because we believe that there is so much that can be done. The Games, the IOC, the Olympic Games have done a lot during the last 10, 15 years. Tokyo practically is a gender equal games in terms of participation of athletes. We in media have not yet done all that we can do. And I think this is something that we need to be frank and open amongst ourselves. And I'm not saying that because we should start pointing fingers. I'm saying that because there are so many opportunities to do better. Internationally in media, at least 2 years ago when a big survey was done, the space that was allocated in media for women's sports was 4% related to men's sports. Even here in the Olympic Games, usually the participation of media is 20% women. Obviously, this is not where the world is, and we need to move if we ever want to lead the world. And this has been our starting point, not just as OBS, but this has been an Olympic-wide effort. It has been led and coordinated by the Department of Corporate and Sustainable Development of the IOC. I'm very happy to see here Marisa Lois. We had the participation of many contributors, including Naoko, and also on our side, we sat down and thought of ways of making gender equality being better showcased in what we do as media. We have a record amount of production here in the Games, and it's evident already that we will have a record amount of consumption. So how do we try to make this as gender balanced as possible? First of all, by making sure that we treat in terms of volume of coverage and quality of coverage and level of coverage, all events and all sports the same. There's absolutely no difference in the coverage that OBS does for events for women's events and for men's events. They are absolutely the same. Mark spoke a little bit before. Kit, I think, and the sports department identified and highlighted some things that we have done with the schedule. This is super important. And I would like to thank here the sports department of the IOC, but also international federations. The Olympic Games is an extremely dense event. You have at some point 27 events going on at the same time. So it's very important how you strategically place events so that they can all have and provide very good opportunities for access. Here we are doing some things which are fundamental, I think, for achieving equality. For example, finals of major sports. The volleyball final in these games will be after the men's final. So it's going to be the handball final. Why is this important? Because the whole tournament of the games is leading towards the final event. Traditionally, it has been the men's event. In these games, it's going to be the women's event. Judo, I don't need to tell you how important the sport is in the context of these games. Originally, on Mat 1, which is the most broadcast one, we were supposed to have 7 men's finals. Now we will have 4 finals of women and 3 of men. Again, it's numbers, but these numbers will result to actual maximization of exposure. These are a few of the elements that we're doing on the level of volume and quantity. But as we know, gender equality is something that needs also to be addressed on the level of narrative, of bringing down stereotypes. of bringing down preconceived ideas. As OBS, what we have done, we have developed a very, very detailed list of guidelines for our directors, our producers, our camera operators, our commentators, about how they address different situations, how they should not be focusing on some specific things that highlight preconceived ideas or stereotypes around portrayal of women or portrayal of sports. For us, they are all athletes. Women, men, they are all athletes, and they are there because of their sporting capabilities, not because of their looks or of their extra sport or of their qualities outside of the field of play. We have been following this set of very, very important portrayal guidelines that have been developed, and I would like to invite you all really to go through them and to share them as much as possible. I know that all colleagues in our industry want to do the best, but in order for us to be effective, we really need to take very concrete steps. We need to challenge ourselves with things that we do every day, on the level of volume, on the level of narrative, and on the level of portrayal. There are ways of achieving that, and there is, I believe, a huge opportunity. There is no event like the Olympic Games that can have a bigger impact in the way societies perceive gender equality. We have 2 weeks to use this unique opportunity that we have in our hands. Very, very happy to take any questions you may have. Mark?
Thank you very much to my guests. Okay, if there are questions on this topic, it would be good to start off with those. Of course, as ever, we are open to any questions on any subjects related to the game. So, Graham Dunbar from AP.
Thank you. That's a question for Yanis. The amount of airtime that women athletes get, but the presentation of them in the German gymnasts have raised the issue of sexualized outfits. Do you have any concerns on that line, or do you have any guidance that you give to your directors just about the types of uniforms women are wearing and the sort of body shapes that they naturally get into in their events, particularly in track and field? Beach volleyball is an obvious one, and gymnastics. What sort of guidance, and do you have any unease about the sort of direction that this subject's going?
This is a great question, because it goes exactly to the heart of the issue of portrayal. As broadcasters, we do not really give directives about what the athletes should wear, because there are directives that are being given by the sports department of the IOC. What we can do is to make sure that our coverage does not highlight or feature in any particular way what people are wearing, and whether these the clothes that they're wearing, whether they highlight any particular elements of the body that have to do with stereotypes. So you will not see in our coverage some things that we have been seeing in the past, with details and close-up in parts of the body or elements that really speak about sexuality or any other type of stereotyping of gender. So for us, one thing is what the athletes wear, and they should be following the general guidelines about which uniforms are appropriate. But it's very important how you tell the story, and how you insist, details that we insist on is the sporting prowess of the athletes.
Hello, I'm Jenna Fryer with the Associated Press. I apologize, I have 2 questions because 2 different topics. I believe in relation to the weather, you used U.S. terms. You said tropical storm, category 3. We consider that a hurricane. And we typically consider hurricanes pretty dangerous. Are you looking at this as a potentially dangerous situation?
Yes, I think it's category 3 in Japanese terms. It's not category 3 in American terms. And category 3, as I understand, we said below, there are 5 categories. Below 3 is not expected to have any serious damage to buildings. So it's not wishing to minimize it. Actions are taken. I would say also that my understanding is it's not actually going to come via Tokyo anyway now. So.
Yeah, sorry, I can complement. So, every different country uses every different terms, and also they may have different perception towards the term, which is why I try to bring in the perception that people should have in terms of the level of this typhoon. So, in this scale, I said this is considered the 3rd grade among 5 grades in the U.S. soil, and also we can call it tropical storm, which is actually in this U.S. term, this is the weakest category of the name in terms of the names of these categories. So from the bottom, tropical storm, severe tropical storm, and typhoon. This is a term being used in the U.S. So that was the understanding I have learned this morning. So what I want to tell you is, of course, this is still a typhoon. So we should not be too much optimistic about the impact, of course. But in the meantime, we need to give everyone has a common understanding in terms of what we should expect, which is why I try to bring in this scale. So, as I said, for today's competition, with the latest information we have now, all the competitions are being scheduled as planned. If there is any development, of course, we will circulate the new information.
Are you feeling like you can't get a break? First the heat, now the rain?
Sorry, say it again?
Are you with the weather, are you feeling like you can't get a break? First the heat, then the rain?
I mean, response to any absurd situation is, one of our important jobs. So this is absolutely a regular exercise we have to face with.
And then my second question is about the gender equity. One of the things that has also come out of the gender equity is mental health. And Naomi Osaka is one of the athletes who has brought attention to that. There are a lot of female athletes who have started talking more openly about mental health, and it's maybe not so much of a taboo subject anymore. I'm wondering, where you saw that shift, where it became acceptable to talk about and be addressed.
Yes, it was really, let's say, an occasion to start discussing. But I don't think in Japan we still don't talk about mental health. And when Naomi Osaka came out with the issue, there's been lots of comments, negative comments on her. And I believe that was also kind of exaggerated with the gender issue, being a woman. But I don't think there's enough understanding on mental health, and she gave an opportunity. But I think that there are lots of athletes coming out right now that it's actually common, and almost every athlete's experienced it, and so it has been an important landmark at that time.
And I should just say, obviously, it is an issue that the IOC is taking more and more seriously, and I know the Athletes Commission has been working closely with its athletes, and we have guidelines and so on, and we have people to help and in all circumstances. So we actually have people in the village and we're ready to listen. It's certainly an issue that has, as you say, in the last few years really come to light. And I think on Athlete 365, which is the website that we have specifically for the athletes, there's a great deal of information there. So I think more can be done, but at least it is an issue that is now taken seriously by the vast majority of people.
When you say support, do you have people in the village for the athletes that are trained in professional relation?
Yeah, so we do have that, absolutely, but we also have a hotline as well on mental health. So we are, hoping to employ best practice on that one. It's a very important issue, and particularly I think with athletes who are working under such pressure, performing in the public eye. It's actually probably more important than we had thought maybe 10 or 15 years ago. It was kind of dismissed and brushed under the carpet, and I think that it's really getting the recognition and the work and the resources it deserves.
Thank you.
Mark, if I may add, as we do for our broadcast team, we have 8,000 people working. Yes, there will be a number of our colleagues who will have issues, and it's very normal to recognize and be prepared to offer support. It has already happened, especially under the challenges and the pressure and so on. So we need to make this more normal in our lives.
Thank you. Yeah, gentleman here, and then, yeah.
NHK です。2点質問、高橋さんに質問させていただきます。1点なんですけど、台風のことで、選手に出場する選手に影響があると思うんですけど、日程の変更っていうのはいつまでに、判断したいとかっていうのがあれば、伺いたいと思います。あと今検討している、競技っていうのがどれぐらいあるのかっていうのももし分かれば、お聞かせください。で、あともう1点が男子サッカーの南アフリカのサッカーについてなんですけども、感染してた選手が、普通に出場しているということで、どういう手順を踏んで出場にそういう感染した人がなるのかっていうのを改めて、確認させてください。よろしくお願いします。
はい、ありがとうございます。台風に関してはすべて個別の競技ごとに検討が進んでます。で、最新の気象情報がもちろん全チームにもたらされてまして、それによって会場で個別にどういう対応が必要かという検討をしているところです。
In each venue and what countermeasures are necessary. In other words, it's not that there is a specific deadline across the board on part of the organizing
わかり
committee.
やすい例でいくと、これ以上風が強くなる予報があれば、仮設のテントは畳んどくかみたいなことも含めてですね、検討が進んでます。で、重ね重ね、今このタイミングではすでにご案内済みのボート、アーチェリー以外の競技については、明日は予定通りの開催になっています。当然、この後の進路予想などを見ながらですね、状況が変われば、しっかり皆様にもお伝えしていきますし、当然チーム関係者にも変更があれば速やかにお伝えしていくということになります。それから、南アフリカのサッカーの選手に関しては、ごめんなさい、濃厚接触者ではなくて、感染してた選手ということですか。ごめんなさい、ちょっと今、手続きを完全に私、今、手元にプロトコルを持っているわけではないんですが、日本の保健当局の指導に基づいて、通常、10日間の隔離措置をもって、いわゆる隔離施設から出ていただくか、もしくは6日間の隔離プラス24時間以上間隔を空けて2回の PCR 検査陰性を確認できれば退院可能となります。今言った10日間、6日間というのは検体採取日からですね。10日間無症状の場合は退院が可能。それから同じく無症状の場合は6日間経過後24時間以上間隔を空けて2回の PCR 検査で陰性を確認できれば退院可能となります。退院をした後は競技に復帰することができるものとなっております。
Yeah, sorry, I didn't catch most of the question, unfortunately. I do apologize because of my translating machine. But I gather it was on close contacts, just to say, obviously, those are incredibly strict and can go up to 14 days. And for athletes, there are pre-competition PCR tests and post-competition PCR, individual rooms, meals, special transportation, and PCR tests for close contacts. That's a general rule. It's in the playbooks. by all means take a look. Obviously for athletes and other key people it is slightly different, but those are the rules for them particularly. But apologies, I couldn't get your question, so I'm kind of answering without really knowing. Yeah, there was a lady just behind Liam who wanted to ask a question first, and Liam after that maybe. But.
日本語で質問させていただきます。フランスのラジオフランスとリベラション新聞の特派員西村と申します。3点お願いします。1点目は数ヶ月前から IOC バッハ会長は選手や海外から来た関係者のワクチン状況を何度も自慢しましたが、陽性になった方々は、ワクチン受けてるかどうかを公表されてないんですけれども、これから公表するつもりでしょうか。それは1点目。
Sorry, I
can.
Yeah, if I do apologize.
Do you prefer French or English?
Either, but English, obviously.
English, okay.
But French is fine.
I just ask if you can also give us the vaccination status of people who has been declared positive, because before the games, President Bach always told that 80% or more people coming from abroad will be vaccinated, but now there are positive cases, and we don't know if it's people vaccinated or not. Or is there a reason why you don't give this information? This is a question.
Well, we obviously wouldn't give individual cases and identify people, but what I can say is yes. So. Residents of the village, it's about 85% vaccinated. For the IOC, it's about 100% vaccinated. That, by the way, doesn't mean, I'm not an expert, but that doesn't mean you can't still catch COVID. It's still possible. And obviously there is a number of people there who aren't vaccinated. The numbers you're getting are also involving, if I'm right, are also involving outside contractors and workers from within Japan as well, and I think you'll find that something like 50% of the positive cases are from those cases. So the infection rate is incredibly small, as you would expect with such high vaccination rates. I can't really give you much more detail than that on the vaccination.
Even if you don't give this information to the public or to the journalist, do you give this information to the medical people? I mean, if someone vaccinated is tested positive, it could also mean that it is another variant which is resistant to the vaccination. So it's important to know if it is vaccinated or not, and to analyze the genome.
It is important to know, but you'll appreciate being a media spokesman. I'm not going to go into what information is shared or not shared. I can't do that. But rest assured, I'm certain that they are sharing all the information that's necessary to be assured.
May I add something? If Mark is not a medical expert, I'm 3 times less. But from a media point of view, we can make an observation. We're 20,000 media here. We knew that the level of vaccination would be 80% or more. We are all being tested regularly. There have been 9 cases. There is no other community with this low level of positivity right now in the world. So the system works.
I have another question about the situation in Japan, especially in Tokyo. Don't you think that you will have to check more people from Japan who are going inside this press center or inside the Olympic Village and outside without a very severe check? Don't you think you will have to reinforce, to strengthen this check?
If my understanding is correct, you are asking about the level of testing, right?
So this high.
It's obviously we have been deploying a robust testing program right now. As I mentioned earlier, the number of tests we have been able to conduct is now more than 200,000 across all stakeholders, and then you also have seen the result, which has been already exposed to everyone available. So in that respect, we are confident that we are deploying the most robust possible testing program for all the stakeholders right now.
Just one precision. お掃除のする方とか、お料理のする方とか、その人たちも検査を受けてますか？抗原検査ですか？
For example, antigen tests?
All the accredited persons are subject to be tested, and everyone's being conducted within this testing program.
Thank you very much. I should tell you I'm tested every single day, and like everyone here was tested twice before I came, once on arrival, and tested every single day. And I think the number of tests now is up to 200, more than 200,000. So, as I said yesterday, this is the most tested community probably anywhere in the world. In fact, anywhere in the world, no one is getting as many tests, and obviously that, with added to the distancing and so on, makes it a safe place. Can we make it zero risk? No, we can't. As the World Health Organization Director General said earlier last week, when he was praising the work that would be done, we've worked very closely with the WHO all the way, and they provided all the information we needed to make sure that all the actions we're taking are scientifically based. There's a lot of questions, so Liam's been waiting a long time. Liam.
Hi, Liam Morgan from Insider Games. Question for Mark, if I may. On the ROC team, we've had several instances of them being referred to as Russian inside venues. A federation yesterday, a European federation, actually tweeted the name of Russia when referring to the team. Why is these rules that were put in place under the CAS decision not being properly implemented here? Under the rules, all public displays of the ROC team, they must be called ROC, and it isn't happening. Why is nothing being done about this, considering we went through so many years of this CAS case? Thank you.
Thank you. I think you're conflating two separate things. It sounds like, I don't know, but it sounds like there was a mistake by one IF. My understanding is that the representation of the ROC, and in certain circumstances we can say Russian Olympic Committee. I've been told, so let me check on that, but it is, as far as I know, we are consistent with what we're being asked to do following the CAS ruling. Let's go to Carlos. Sorry everyone, suddenly a lot of people asking questions. I'll try and get around as many as we can.
Thanks. Carlos Groman, a question for Yannis. Given the different nature of these games, no fans and so on, the troubled run-up to the games, can you give us some figures on the opening ceremony worldwide, or the first few days, and how they were received by television audiences worldwide? Thank you.
Yes, there will be a report in a few days, because on the digital front, as you know, data are being collected faster, but on traditional television there's still a lag, and I'm sure that Timo Lumme in a few days will brief you on these figures as we receive them. What I can say, which is very, very important, is that first of all, here in Japan, the opening ceremony was watched by more than 70 million people. It's been the most watched event in the last 10 years. We know that there have been several countries where the exposure has been huge. I know from my colleagues at CMG, Chinese public broadcaster, that also the figures were extremely high. I know from Channel 7 in Australia that probably it was 3 times what it was in Rio. You will be receiving more information on that in the days to come, but the first indications that we have is that clearly the opening ceremony had a very, very, very high level of consumption. We need to add also the component of digital consumption now, which in Tokyo seems to be breaking records one day after the other. Just to give you a simple example, our own platform, Tokyo 2020 and Olympics.com, the day before yesterday was the best day in the history of digital platforms of the Olympics. The day after was 20% more, and the day after was 20% more, higher than what we had expected. So clearly, the interest in the games is booming. Of course, in Japan, it's aided very much by the success of the Japanese athletes and the gold medals that have I think moved to positivity also a lot the mood in the social media. So one thing is the actual numbers, which I think will prove to be very, very high. The other thing is the positivity around the games. 7-0, yeah, 7-0. And until today, I think more than 80% of all Japanese have watched some part of the games. Mas, I think I'm correct, huh? So you cannot have a more uniform participation in an event.
Yeah, Yanis is right. We will have Timo come later in the week when we've got a bit more time. We're just going to go over this side for a little bit. We've been over at this microphone, so let's go gentlemen here and gentlemen there first, and we'll come back in a second.
Ian Axon from Reuters Television. Given that a large number of fans actually watched the cycling races on the opening 2 days, and recent polling has been more positive about having the Olympics here, is there any chance of a change in the status of the events taking place without fans? Is there a chance that you could revisit that?
I'll hand over to Masa in a minute, but from the IOC point of view, it won't surprise you to know that we will follow entirely the advice of the Japanese health authorities on that. Of course, it breaks everyone's heart that there are no spectators, but health and safety are number one priority. So if that were to happen, that would be a decision for our Japanese partners and friends. Masa, anything to add?
Yeah, we have obviously observed such a large number of spectators along the road cycling race. The thing is, we can consider that it's one of those proofs that the Japanese people are passionate about the Olympic Games. But in the meantime, we have been saying that we are requesting general audiences to refrain from coming to the roadside under the current situation. So I will have to say that we should thank for those people who did not come and stay their homes to watch those events in their places. So of course there's a mixed feeling, but we have to stress that this is the rule that we are conveying. We need to keep saying that people need to refrain from coming to those road events. And it's also, Mark already touched on, for now we have no discussions on the new development in terms of accommodating spectators. But the decision on the Paralympic Games will come after the end of these Olympic Games.
Thank you.
Yes, there was another gentleman here, and then I'm going to try and come back over here to, I think it's Tarek I can see over there. Yeah, Tarek, yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
大丈夫です。ありがとうございます。共同の林です。高谷さんと、あとできればお伺いできればと思いますが、先ほどの質問とも関係しますが、今回、観客がいない会場がかなり多くなっておりますけれども、例えば選手がご家族とコミュニケーションできるような仕組み、デジタルテクノロジーを使ったそういうコミュニケーションの仕組みっていうのは今回具体的にどのように行われているのか、 その具体的な例とかがあればですね、いくつか教えていただけると助かります。
Thank you very much. This is a great question, and actually, after tomorrow, we will have the opportunity to explain to you what we're doing on that front, because we have started as OBS fast-tracking a number of initiatives. One has to do with allowing spectators from around the world to be sending their messages of support to the athletes. So you will see, even from broadcast, some images from the video boards of the venues where you will see massively videos coming from near the time of the event from all over the world of fun, engaging and cheering for the athletes, and also a worldwide map that will show where these are coming from. The second very, very important thing is what we call athlete moment, which is in a number of venues. We put together a station, a monitor and a camera, and we allow the athletes right after their performance to get in touch directly with the people who are very close to them, their friends and families who also cannot be in the venues. Actually, I was just sent some photos of that from swimming, and it's, you will see the photo and you understand immediately the emotional state that the athletes are in. So yes, we're doing that. We're extremely happy with that, because it's a digital opportunity for the athletes to really engage with the friends and families. On Wednesday, we will present to you a little bit more in details about what is happening in the venues. Again, all that do not fully substitute spectators in the venues, but they give the athletes, I think, a far better experience.
Thank you, Yanis. Okay, I think Tarek, I said, and then gentleman in the blue shirt and lady in front, if we can do. And then Alex, I think I saw. That might be it after those four. So Tarek,
hi, Mark. Question. I wasn't here yesterday, but there was a question about the podium celebrations, I think, and you said it's not a like to have, and then a few hours later, the rules changed. Could you tell me why the rules changed from the must-have point in the morning, and then after the rules had changed, they're still doing whatever they want to do, and it's quite understandable. If I won an Olympic gold medal, I'll jump on your lap. So how are you policing this, and what is the repercussion for the people doing this? Equally, there are people in the stands. The signs here are quite amusing in some of the way they're designed, but they say no cheering and all these things, but it's all taking place. What's the point of this?
This is difficult to explain. Yesterday, you'll see from the answer I gave that it was a general answer about the wearing of masks and celebrations, and that still, by the way, stays that we would urge everybody, and I think the media have been actually very good on this, maybe compared to some other stakeholder groups, but we would urge everyone to continue to follow those rules, and we give the kind of strongest possible guideline that we can that has to be done. In terms of that specific moment, yes, there is, like you, if I won a gold medal or any medal, or I would want to celebrate. So we can't allow that, unfortunately, but what we can allow, and this is why the rules had been in discussion for a while, was being implemented yesterday. The idea is to give those athletes who have been competing, when everyone else has stepped back, the chance to remove their masks for 30 seconds, staying on their steps for a photo. And I think everyone would appreciate, one, that the risk is very, 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 very low, and two, that's completely understandable. I know what you're going to try to get to the microphone and ask me about. Presumably it's not being followed. Those guidelines were sent during the day, and yes, we are trying to make sure that they are closely followed. Is everyone following the rules? It is difficult, but it's really, really important. And as I said yesterday, and I repeat it, this isn't a nice to have, this is an absolute priority. We need to give everyone confidence, not just our Japanese partners and hosts, but actually all of the other stakeholder groups here and everyone, that this is happening. So we are making a really special effort today, again, to remind all of our groups and all of our people that they need to wear their masks. And by the way, it's also, I would say, almost like a citizen's duty to remind people. If you find someone, you see someone who's not, ask them politely to do so, because actually that is in all of our interests. And that, for me, counts whether you're at these games or whether you're at home or wherever you are. So I think it's really, really important that we respect these rules. And I think everyone would also appreciate our attempt to at least allow those athletes that one moment to at least have a picture to remember their amazing performances. Yes, gentleman in the back here.
Доброе утро. Рустам Шарафуддинов, корреспондент Тартас. Сейчас идут финалы олимпийских соревнований по плаванию. И, в частности, Юлия Ефимова сейчас подвергла критике то, что финалы и полуфиналы проводятся утром в угоду американских телекомпаний. Она объяснила тем, что как раз утром и
media outlet, and she said that in the morning athletes cannot perform well to break world records. So my question, whether the organizers are ready to meet to react to this criticism, and whether or not this criticism can be more criticism about that. So what can you say about that, about such criticism? Thank you.
As you know, the judgment on whether competition can take place and at what times from a technical point of view, whether it affects or not the athletes, this is at the complete discretion of the international federations. They are the ones who define when it is the optimum time for the athletes to compete. And of course, on this subject, FINA was the International Federation of Swimming was consulted. This is not the first time that we have finals in the morning. It happened also in Beijing. It happened in Korea. And the position from FINA was that for the athlete it does make any difference, provided that they know that well ahead and that they can train and regulate the way the performance and their peak according to that, and this is what is happening. For the world records, I think that we will be here to see what is happening. Obviously, for all sports, the consideration of maximizing their exposure is very important, and the exposure of the sports come primarily from broadcasting, traditional and digital. This is for the benefit of the athletes. It's not against the athletes. You know that many of the Olympic sports, their Olympic exposure is by far the largest exposure to the world that they can have. It's a unique opportunity for engaging new generations and creating new followers of the sport, including even for huge Olympic sports like swimming. If you compare the exposure that swimming has during the Games with other regular events, I think there is no comparison. Yes, we do work a lot as broadcasters for the creation of this program. We discussed before about ensuring gender equality, but also one fundamental criterion is ensuring exposure of all sports around the world. And this, I think, is important for the athletes and the sport first and foremost.
Okay, there was a lady here I think wanted, and then we'll go to Alex, and I think, with apologies, that will probably be the last question. So, yeah, lady here and then the BBC.
Please excuse me for speaking Japanese. 高谷さんにTBS テレビです伺います。
I like to speak in Japanese. I like to ask a question.
気象庁によると千葉県など1都3県に、大雨暴風警報また波浪警報が発表される可能性が高くなっています。明日千葉県にあるサーフィンの会場の方にも、波浪警報が発表される可能性が高くなっていますが、明日準決勝なども予定されている中で、現在の県
final is scheduled for tomorrow for surfing. I like to.
はい、これはすみません、先ほどお伝えしたことをちょっと繰り返すにのみにと当然状況が変われば競技スケジュールの変更も含めてしっかり皆様に速やかにお伝えをしていきます。まさに今対応をベニューごとに協議中ですので、現在のところは明日は予定通りにしてますが、重ね、今おっしゃっていただいたような話も含めてですね、状況が変われば 速やかにお伝えをしていきたいと思います。引き続き気象情報に注視しながら対応していきたいというふうに考えております。
Thank you very much, Masa. Yeah, Alex, last question, please. Yeah, with apologies.
Thank you. Morning, Alex Couch at BBC. Just to follow up on Tarek's question, do you, obviously you've relaxed the rule on wearing masks on the podium, but you have said that anything else is not allowed when people embrace each other, they embrace their coaches or anyone they can get their hands on, it seems. Are people going to be sanctioned now because of this? And one second question, just to clarify, because I'm a bit confused, is it, under Japanese terminology, is it a typhoon or a tropical storm?
I think, Alex, at this stage, where the vast majority of people are complying, we will make a last big push to remind people and to get them to do their duty. And I think we'll leave it at that for the time being, but there will be specific discussions with people, and if we find people who are breaking the rules, we will talk to them and ask them to abide by the rules. So I think that at this stage is where we are, and I hope that that works, because this is a very important issue for us and everybody. Masa.
Yeah, the explanation is very, very difficult concerning the terms of this weather. So in Japanese, it is typhoon. Sounds like very typhoon, but in this U.S. soil, it means the highest category of the weather. So as I said, in the U.S. soil, this level of the weather is considered a tropical storm, and above that, there is a severe tropical storm and then typhoon. So I don't know how I should be able to address that, but in Japanese it is called typhoon. But I want you to understand the level of this weather, the forecasted weather. That's what I wanted to convey. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Masa, and thank you to my guests. Important subject for us. And tomorrow, just to let you know, I will be here with James McLeod from NSC Relations, and he'll be talking also about the Refugee Olympic team. So see you at 11 tomorrow. Thank you very much, everybody.